You say because of Trump. You just acknowledged that Trump tried to prevent the release of the files. Do you agree with that?
No, I say he's doing more than any other person that.
What a liar! What a liar! Okay, so by the way, he said,
How?
"I'm not defending what he did to MTG." Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Hey, welcome back everybody, and genuinely glad you're here for this one because this clip is something else entirely. So what we have here is Parker, who runs debates like this on the regular, going head-to-head with a self-described supporter of the current administration. The topic sounds simple on the surface: legal cases, court convictions, and government files. But the moment Parker starts asking specific questions, things get very uncomfortable very fast for the other side. And I mean that in the most fascinating way possible. Do yourself a favor and stay all the way through this one because the ending, and I mean the final exchange, is the kind of moment that makes you rewind it twice just to make sure you heard it right. Also, before we get into it, drop a comment and let me know where in the world you are watching from right now. Genuinely love seeing where this community is spread across the globe, so tell me your city, your country, whatever you are comfortable sharing. Alright? Without me saying another word, let's get into it.
What were the felonies? Can you tell me?
Very first one.
What were the felonies?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Falsification of business records in the first degree, which is a Class C felony in the state of New York. So you're gonna tell me that you don't even remember what the felonies were, yet you think that they were bullshit, even though he was convicted?
Yes, they were bullshit. It was a few years ago. Yes, I don't sit here and okay, I got to memorize exactly what these charges were with all the stuff going on. Yeah. It was BS. The fact that they waited 9 minutes for her to file that.
I don't even know what your source is for that. Can you provide a source for that 9-minute point?
I mean, I could, but
are you just mad that it took longer than you do?
Am I mad that it took longer than me do? What?
Never mind. Don't worry about it. So I'm just asking you. So in terms of the case, like, I don't understand why someone couldn't account for the fact that there was going to be this time is when it goes into effect. And then they're like, okay, because I know that the law says this time is when it goes into effect, I'll be able to hold my abuser accountable at this very point. I'm going to do it as soon as possible. That makes sense. That's totally coherent to expect that to be the case. And then the 34 felonies are not the SA case. They're a criminal case, and you don't accept the determination from that. Why not? Can you name one piece of evidence in that case you dispute?
So which case are we talking about now?
The 34 felonies. I clarified.
Okay, the 34 felonies. And what about the 34 felonies? I already said.
Can you name one piece of evidence in the case you dispute?
Can I name one piece of evidence in the case that I dispute? Yeah, like actual evidence that was presented?
Yeah.
I not off the top of my head.
So then how do you know that the case is bullshit?
Because she was the very first in line to file the claim, and the fact that
doesn't make a claim. That doesn't make it bullshit. What?
If you look at
so now MAGA's mad that she didn't wait long enough? Wait, that just doesn't make any sense. You guys, your whole first point was that she took too long to come out, and now she's not taking long enough to come out.
Right, but it seems to me that they passed that.
Hey, let me tell you something though. That's not the felonies case. I'm asking you about the felonies case. That's the Eugene Carroll case, which is a civil case. So I just want to let you know that one.
Okay. So again, that's why I asked you what case you're talking about. And so now you're
like, I have clarified multiple times and you keep mixing them up.
So in terms of the business records, did Trump have somebody handling his financial books and all that stuff and paying out people and this and that? Did he have other people do that?
Regardless, he signed it.
So the answer is yes. Yes. So when you pay somebody, for instance, let's take my case. I hired a CPA to do my taxes because I own a business and personal taxes and all that stuff. And I paid them what, like $1,200 or whatever to do the taxes, and they did them. Well, guess what? They did them wrong. So then the IRS came back a couple of years later saying that there was some discrepancies on my tax filings. But I paid this individual to do that for me, and they did it, but they made a mistake.
This is the moment that tells you everything you need to know. Not about the case, about the person defending against it. Because Parker asked a simple question. Name the felonies. Just name them. And the opponent sat there and said, I can't remember off the top of my head. You have to understand what just happened there. This person has been calling these charges fake for however long this conversation has been going, passionately, confidently, and the second Parker asked him to name one, just one, the whole foundation crumbled in real time, and Parker did not let that slide. He came right back with falsification of business records in the first degree, which is a classy felony in the state of New York. Word for word, no hesitation, because when you actually follow something, you know what it is. And that contrast alone should make every viewer stop and think. But it gets better, because Parker then asks, can you name one piece of evidence in that case you dispute? Not asking him to win an argument, not asking him to be a lawyer, just asking him to name anything specific that he actually looked at and said, this feels wrong. One thing. And the opponent says, yeah, I not off the top of my head. Here is what people don't realize about moments like this. This is not just someone forgetting details. Forgetting details is normal. What this is someone who formed a conclusion first and never looked for a reason. That is the opposite of how you're supposed to think. You don't decide something is fake and then skip learning what it actually says. That is not skepticism. That is loyalty dressed up as skepticism. And here's what makes this so fascinating from an educational standpoint. There is actually a name for this pattern in psychology. It is called motivated reasoning. It is when your brain works backwards, starting from the conclusion you want and then filtering everything else to protect it. Researchers have studied this for decades, and what they found is that the stronger your emotional attachment to a group or a leader, the harder motivated reasoning hits. You are not even aware you are doing it. That is what makes it so powerful, and that is exactly what Parker just exposed without even using the term.
So if Donald Trump is paying somebody to maintain his record book, while he is overall in charge, I mean, if you got somebody and you're paying somebody to do a job, and so that's what I give him.
So this isn't like a misfiling on taxes. This is literally a falsification of business records to then literally limit the story from coming out about him paying money, hush money, to Stormy Daniels. Okay, so this is explicitly intentional. Okay, that's why there's the predicate crime. Okay, so this just means that Donald Trump was committing this crime in furtherance of another one, meaning that there's like an intentional basis to it. So by the way, some random CPA that you hire is not going to falsify business records relating to a hush money payment. They don't benefit from that at all. The only person that would want this to happen in the scenario would have been Trump, because it would have affected his election prospects.
Right, but who prepared those documents and then Trump signed them?
So again, him asking someone else to prepare the documents for him that were falsified is not to say that he didn't want to intentionally falsify those documents.
So who prepared those documents, Parker?
I don't remember off the top of my head who prepared the documents.
Okay. Well, it wasn't Trump. So there we go. Now the other stuff that you were saying.
Was it Michael Cohen?
Because like I said,
it was Michael Cohen? I thought so, but I wasn't positive.
Wow. I mean, even I know that.
Thank you so much, the Galaxy. No, I knew that Cohen was in relation to that. I just genuinely didn't know if he was the one who like forged the document or something. I just knew that he was his lawyer around that time.
Right. It's only been talked about for a couple of years, Parker. Yeah. Anyway, what was your other point? Plus, you do this on a daily basis. So, I mean, you should know that. But yeah,
my point is that you don't have any good reason.
The 34 felony counts.
My point is that you don't have any good reason to dispute that these are applicable to Trump, yet you still do that because you're a part of a cult.
Yeah, right. I'm a cult member.
Yes.
Yeah. What's your evidence of that?
Because you'll literally defend him no matter what. You didn't even know what specific aspect of
No,
the case you dispute in terms of evidence. You just don't accept it because it's Trump.
This is the part that blows my mind, because the opponent tries to use a CPA analogy. He says, look, if I hire someone to do my taxes and they get it wrong, that is on them, not me. And on the surface, that sounds reasonable. It sounds like a fair comparison. But Parker dismantled it immediately, and the reason why matters so much. Parker pointed out, this is literally a falsification of business records to then literally limit the story from coming out about him paying hush money to Stormy Daniels. And that is the key word. Intentional. This was not a math error on a spreadsheet. This was a deliberate act to hide a specific story at a specific time for a specific reason. A random accountant has zero motivation to do that. Zero. When the only person in that entire situation who benefits from that falsification is the one whose name is on the building. And then the opponent tries to save himself by saying, well, it wasn't him who prepared the documents. So there we go. As if preparation equals intent. As if asking someone else to do something dishonest on your behalf makes you innocent of wanting it done. That is not how the law works. That is not how logic works either. Parker already knew it was Michael Cohen. He said so clearly, and the opponent basically confirmed it while pretending he knew all along, and then had the audacity to say, it's only been talked about for a couple of years, Parker. As if that was a comeback. As if being slow to learn the basic facts of a case you keep calling fake is somehow Parker's problem. Let me break down why this matters beyond just this conversation. When someone says a court case is wrong but cannot name the charges, cannot name the evidence they dispute, and cannot distinguish between civil and criminal proceedings, what they are actually telling you is that their position was never built on information. It was built on a feeling, and feelings do not care about facts. Parker put it perfectly at the end of this section. You just don't accept it because it's Trump. That one sentence is the entire argument. That is the whole thing.
no, I'm not defending him on his treatment of MTG. I'm not defending him on his
You can't say that the actions
his
on his
relationship
own
of
is it cult like his actions against MTG are that cult like?
is it no, I just think he's a crazy old man.
No, he literally said she's a traitor just because she didn't 100%
Yeah,
fall in alignment with him and
he's
not want
crazy.
the release of and wanted to stop the release of the Epstein files. Literally, that's
Yes,
the
I
reason.
disagree with that. Now, if I was a part of the cult, then I
Wait,
I,
so then
I
wait, so
would
then
not
you
agree
agree
with
that
right? I
Donald
would
Trump
agree
was
with Trump.
protecting? So you agree Donald Trump was protecting PDFs in the Epstein files?
No, I think what he is protecting is
Wait, so then what was his dispute with MTG?
um the fact that she wanted those documents, all of them released and all that stuff. And I
Yeah,
think
so he was protecting PDFs. She wanted them released. He didn't want them released.
right. So let me ask you this: that we're going down that road. So how many people do you think is in Epstein files that have done something wrong to the point that they should be arrested?
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I wouldn't be able to give you a number of people off the top of my head.
Just
But
roughly,
like
would you say one or two or maybe 1,000?
much, I would say
is close to
much more than two. Much more than two. There are co-conspirators that are listed, specifically people that should have been investigated and should have had charges pulled up against. They are just now going after one of Epstein's places in New Mexico where they're investigating it right now. So they
Well,
still
thank you,
haven't even.
Trump.
They still fully
Yeah.
haven't even done this, and that's an issue specifically on behalf of how this has been conducted.
Right.
But again,
So how are the
you say because of Trump. You just acknowledged that Trump tried to prevent the release of the files. Do you agree with that?
No, I say he's doing more than any other person that
What
we
a
know
liar!
of in
What a liar!
Congress.
Okay, so by the way, he said
How?
I'm not defending what he did to MTG. Yes, you are. Yes,
Why
you
didn't Joe
are. You
Biden
literally
DOJ
are
go after
defending
him?
that. You literally are defending that. It took me
No,
just questioning
no,
you
I'm
about
not.
it. You actually
No.
are. You're trying
So
to
let
act
me
like
ask
he
you
wasn't
this:
trying to release
How
like he was
co-
still trying to release the Epstein files. The reason why he literally said Marjorie Taylor Greene was a traitor is because she wanted the Epstein files to be released. This is what she says
Yeah.
herself.
Yeah. 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 I just told
Okay,
you
so
that.
then
Yes.
so then you do agree that Donald Trump was trying to prevent the
But
release of
what
the
would
files?
also,
Do you agree that Donald
but
Trump was
based on what
Listen.
we,
Listen. Do you agree Donald Trump was trying to prevent the release of the files?
uh, yes, just like everybody else. Yes. That knows
Wait,
actions
like
within the
everybody
files.
else. I don't think everyone else was trying to do
Yes, I
that.
do.
Oh, this ending. This ending right here. The opponent opens this section by saying, no, I'm not defending him on his treatment of MTG, and I want you to pay close attention to what just happened, because he said that to prove he was not in a cult, that he can criticize independently, that he has his own mind. He offered up the MTG situation as his one example of pushback, but Parker did not let him use that as an exit. He followed the thread. He asked, "So then you agree Donald Trump was protecting people in those files?" And the opponent could not get out of it cleanly. He kept redirecting. He kept adding context. He kept trying to build a different frame. And then Parker asked it one more time, directly. "So then you do agree that Donald Trump was trying to prevent the release of the files? Do you agree that Donald Trump?" And after all of that resistance, after all the deflection, after every attempt to avoid landing on a clear answer, the opponent finally said, yes, just like everybody else. Yes, just like everybody else." And Parker's reaction is everything. Wait. Like everybody else? I don't think everyone else was trying to do that. You have to understand the weight of that admission. This person spent the entire conversation arguing that the legal cases were fake, that the accusations were manufactured, that his guy was being unfairly targeted, and then in the same breath admitted that yes, his guy was actively working to keep those files from the public. The two positions cannot coexist. You cannot say someone is being persecuted by a corrupt system and also acknowledge that same person is suppressing documents that the public has a right to see. What Parker did across this entire segment was something really simple, but really rare. He did not argue with feelings. He did not match the opponent's energy. He just kept asking for specifics. Name the charge, name the evidence, answer the direct question, and every single time, the opponent had nothing. That is not a debate tactic. That is just what happens when one person prepared and the other one just believed. So what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.